Welcome to Vancouver Carpenter. Today I want to teach you guys what a level 5 finish actually is, because this term gets thrown around a lot in the building industry and I think a lot of people don't really understand what it means. They just use it as this kind of prestigious term to be like, I had my whole condo level 5'd. But they don't really know what or why they needed to do that, because chances are they probably didn't. The first one, level 0. Yes, there is a level 0. That is just installed drywall with nothing done to it. So no coats of anything, just screwed on drywall. The next one, level 1, is commonly referred to as fire taping. So this is just simply where tape is installed with mud. And it doesn't even have to be wiped out nicely. Basically, you just need to cover all the joints and any openings that connect one room to another with tape. So this does two things. One is it's going to slow down the spread of flames, but it's also super important for slowing down gases getting through. So you don't want smoke and other gases getting through into other units. So that's why it's referred to as fire taping. Places you'll find something like this is in heat closets where people don't really look in there. So like I said, it can be as simple as slapping the tape on and wiping it out with your hands. So it doesn't even have to be done with a knife in most cases. Level 2 is tape and corner trims installed and wiped out. So you've got to actually wipe all the mud out so it's smooth, and even apply one coat of mud over top of trims and fasteners. Tool marks and ridges are acceptable at this point, meaning it doesn't need to be sanded. Level 3. So this is basically tape and 2 coats, but it doesn't necessarily have to be all that nice or sanded yet. So this is done where you're going to be applying heavy textures or heavy wall coverings, like say maybe thick vinyl. It's not suitable for paint, wallpaper, or light textures. Next, we're going to get into level 4. This is your standard drywall finish that you're going to see just about anywhere. So this is tape and 2 coats over top of everything. 3 coats over top of screws. Sometimes it might even mean 3 coats over top of butt joints and corner beads too if it doesn't look flat enough. So a level 4 finish should provide a uniformly flat and even looking surface. Tool marks and ridges are not acceptable at this point. So this is going to be for paint, for wallpaper, and anything where you need a nice flat surface. This finish looks good under just about every condition except harsh lighting. And that is what brings us to a level 5. The only time you ever need a level 5 finish is for really harsh lighting, whether it's light coming in from a window or if it's coming from sconces or pot lights. Basically, as soon as you have something illuminating the wall, you are now going to have a level 5 to not see what. This is the big question. The answer is the difference in texture between the drywall paper and the drywall mud. That's all it really comes down to. So a lot of people think a level 5 is actually like leveling out the walls, floating things out, making it all nice. But actually, a proper level 4 should have already done that. A level 5 is just to stop you from being able to see the difference of the paper and the drywall mud. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to put a coat of paint on this. We're going to shine a light directly across it, and I'm going to show you guys the difference between what those 2 surfaces look like painted, and then you'll better understand what we need to do to get a level 5 and why we need to do it. So right now we have this drywall perfectly sanded for a level 4 finish. Now you can see some marks, but we're up pretty close. And so this is supposed to look like a screw. And there's another little bit of mud on there. So I'm going to put some paint on this. And there's going to be 3 different textures actually. There's going to be the unsanded paper, which we actually don't have any. We've got the mud. We've got the sanded paper. And we've got this little space in between the mud and the paper. And so they're all going to look a bit different. Let's go with a nice thick coat of blue paint. Why not? I gotta make sure to get this real nice and uniform so that we can actually see these differences. Okay, let's leave that for a bit and check it out later. Now that this is starting to dry, let's take a look at it. So here's the really smooth drywall mud. you can just see the very faint scratches from sanding, which will fill in a couple of coats. Then we'll move over a little bit. You can see it gets a little bit rougher, so you can see more surface texture. This is the bare paper. So there's two reasons this is happening. One is because it just is a little bit more rippled than the smooth drywall mud. The second reason is also the paint lifts the grain of the drywall mud. It lifts the fibers. So what you're looking at here is you're seeing all of the hairs and the ripples getting kind of magnified by the paint and the light. So here's what would be a screw. You can see how it kind of stands out there, and then the rough paper, and then another screw, rough paper, and then the smooth mud. So you can just see how everything is kind of outlined. Now what I want you to do is imagine that on like a 20 by 20 foot wall with a huge window on one side of it, shining light down the entire thing. Especially early morning light or sunset light, like right before sunset, when the sun goes through the windows at just the right angle. So what you're gonna see is when you see a wall of unpainted drywall, you're basically going to be seeing the same thing. You're going to be seeing all the spots from the screws, you're going to be seeing the grid from all the joints, and it's really unpleasant. The only way to get rid of this is to apply a uniform coat of drywall mud over top of the entire surface. Well, it's not actually the only way. There is other products. So there's surfacers you can use. And what those are intended to do is equalize the surface of the mud and the drywall. I don't know what they are. They're basically like thick paints that you then sand. But those are risky. I've seen big problems on jobs before where the painters come in and they spray a whole house with surfacer. So they spray this super thick coat of paint on, and then they don't have adequate heat and ventilation. And so what happens is the whole house gets saturated. It's humid. It almost feels like it's raining inside there. And the drywall then soaks up all that excess moisture, and the tapes start to buckle. You start to see all the joints peaking, the screws shrink. So basically you can take a perfect level 4 finish and ruin it by applying too much level 5 surfacer without enough ventilation. And then it turns into this nasty fight between the painter and the drywaller, trying to figure out who caused the problem. Most of the time it's the drywaller, because people don't really know about those kind of problems. And so that brings me back to one last point. So what is the reason of having all these levels, and why were they developed? So the reason they were developed was basically to stop a lot of the arguing between, the contractor, architects, the painter, the drywaller, is to get everyone on the same page, and to also help make sure they're comparing apples to apples when organizing quotes. So they can say this room gets this finish, this room gets that finish, and everybody can be on the same page when putting in competitive bids. Okay, I hope this helps demystify what a level 5 finish really is, and what some of the other levels of finish are, and why they came about. So as you can see, a level 4 finish is going to be adequate, in fact more than adequate, under almost every single condition. So there's no reason to get all hoity-toity demanding that your drywallers do a level 5 in your entire house. You don't need it. Anyways, thanks for watching Vancouver Carpenter. Hope this was useful, and until the next video.